payroll?
Yes.
Any money in this week?
Not that I know of. Nothing big anyway, let's put it that way.
Should we get the budget request returned?
Should be under that yellow envelope there on your.
Right.
I did that the other day when you were in, and I think we got busy talking about something else.
Any issues in your office or anything?
No, everything's going good. I think you just said we still had about 400,000 out on real estate.
We gonna do that,
Taxes.
what are we gonna do with that delinquent sale or?
That's February the 15th. Of course, City National Bank normally comes in and pays a bunch for their customers if
Oh.
they haven't paid already, so that amount will go down. I think it's normally about 150, 200 that goes to the tax sale, so.
Just from that bank?
No,
Oh.
well, they'll pay quite a bit, probably right at 100.
Does the other banks do that or just?
You know, Banterra used to do it, but I don't know how they must have found something they can get around and they don't pay their customers anymore.
Is that courthouse renovation fund, Gerald, that 50,000, that
It's in your
That
document.
510 for Eddie back to dig that out there.
oh,
My friend
That's
says
always
that
been
your
out of
daughter
it.
is the epitome of cheerleading. She
Oh.
always had this. And
He's not supposed to be working up
oh,
there.
no, she-
Well,
that one-
State's attorney once saw the figures on what
Oh,
this
yeah,
would cost.
I've had some
So
problems.
when over 30,000, it was
Yeah,
well,
a lot of it.
I went down there and told Barnhill that
Sportsmanship.
I needed that. Well, I don't know what he was thinking. He showed back up out there working, and I told the state's attorney this morning, I said, well, I told him, but I guess well, I don't know what he thought. So they're working out there yesterday and today. But I told Barnhill to stop him, so he gives me some figures. So that's what we're waiting on.
Well, I got an email yesterday from, I didn't know what it was, for my signature on the form for people to look over, for City National to release any information. I emailed them back and this is for what? And it's for that credit check they're doing.
Really? I don't understand that.
If you're paying cash,
Code or what
why do you need a credit?
Yeah, these are like the account numbers,
Yeah,
like
They
the
call
flower
me.
fund.
See, I
is
had,
19. I'm not sure what
Juanita
that
do
is.
that.
She
Do those
had it right
figures.
in there.
A couple of
Well,
them back.
she didn't put any credit application on, so
Rascals are.
that woman, Christie, told me yesterday, wanting 3 credit apps.
No, listen, you supposed
Take
to
the
go 3 or 20.
Well, I know, but
Give the gas company and Metropolis Light
we'll have
Department.
them back for in a few
I
minutes,
gotta
though.
come up with a number somewhere. Do you
Well,
know?
they're checking with City
Right, she
National.
knows what they are and
Okay,
probably
well,
assumes
that-
that everybody does.
But
That's what
I
they
told
do.
her, I said that this money that we take,
I was
nothing to
curious,
do with
trying
the
to
county.
educate myself a bit.
You know, I mean,
I will get
the
those
county's
for you.
financial status has nothing to do with that money.
So, I guess,
You guys got
do you
anything?
have
Ask
anything
her.
else?
no.
We'll return to tax collecting.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome, have a good day. I'll bring that back for you.
Mike for a minute, or you gonna wait, Mike? Only got about 5 minutes before.
I'm just kinda here to see what happens.
Oh, okay.
If I
Do
need
you have
to make
anything
one-
that you wanna say now, or
I can, if you want me to.
You got
just
any
come on
input?
up here and give me something to say?
While we got time.
I mean, I think the fire board, terminated me and David Mizell prematurely and out, you know, not following, I mean, they finally stood up to their SOPs, but David had lived out of the county for 6, 8 years.
What's SOP stand for?
Standard operating procedures. And then, you know, once we started asking some questions while the board was making these decisions or putting this person as supposedly assistant chief, and then when we asked, they said, no, he's not assistant chief, but they address him to the public on a fire call as that. And we started asking questions, so for Mike, just to get rid of his problem, he just stood up to his policies and
Who
Can't-
is assistant chief?
right now, it's Rob Beck, but at the time, there was nobody because Lynn Levercamp had quit.
Yeah.
And at that point, we were, I think they had 18% of the fire department had quit, terminated at once.
Hold
And
that
to
in
my-
at one time?
Yeah, there was
3 of them,
4 of us walked out
4.
over some stuff Childers was doing, so. And to my knowledge, right now, there's still 6 open positions, so, you know, it's hurting the county, but not filling them, and, you know, just kinda continuing with the board that's out there. Cause if Mike decides he wants something, he talks to 3 of the board members, and it's a done deal before the meeting ever happens. Cause I told Dad, which is one of the board members, that, you know, won't you consider me and David for one of those positions? When he walked into the board meeting, they already had their candidate on the table, and it was a done deal. Couldn't even bring anybody else into it.
What do you mean by that? Who was the,
Clay Childers. They wanted Clay as chief, but then they made this captain's position, which had never been there before. And to some of the regulations that I've read, they can't just create a position overnight. It has to be given,
Clay was gonna be assistant chief, or?
they were gonna make him a captain,
Okay.
but, you know, they couldn't, from the regulations I've read, they can't create that position overnight.
Yeah.
It has to be a drawed out thing. You know,
was
post-
anything like posted up on the
Has to be
board?
posted, and, you know, list of criteria that you have to meet, but they didn't offer it to anybody. They just had the board meeting and Mike Hildebrand, you know, made his amendment or whatever it was for Clay to be assistant chief, and it was done. I mean, captain, and then they appointed Rob Beck as assistant chief.
Who's quit out there? Who no longer is out there, it's
Lynn
years of
Levercamp.
service? Who?
Lynn Levercamp. Lynn Wedeking. James Ablett. Of course, me and David Mizell were terminated due to our residence. And then,
And David lives back in Massac County.
he does now, but at the time he was still in Pulaski and had been there for 6 to 8 years. And at one point, he had even lived in Possum Trot, Kentucky, and it was okay. And let's see, David Cook, I think, has been terminated due to his residence, because he's in Kentucky now. But I think at the time me and David Mizell he was in, David Cook was in Kentucky too, just it wasn't official. And then I think Andy Rhodes has been terminated due to attendance. I think it's it, that I'm aware of.
Like attendance, what does that mean? You gotta make so many calls?
Yeah, they set up a new SOP to where if you can make 30% of your calls, you can stay on the department. Anything under that, you were. time, I was probably around 40-50%. And we noticed, and I've been told even after we had got terminated with David Mizell's at 6 months, that we hadn't been on the department. David and I think we're still at our 30% for being gone for 6 months, because it was still on the computer.
How many years are you being volunteer?
I think this year would have been 16 or 17 years. That's all I got.
I think you're supposed to be in here about 9:30. Mine.
Mitchell Lori?
How are you?
Okay, how are you doing?
Did you make me some copies just to take home for
I
my
can if you want.
Thought he usually made his own copies.
Occasionally he does.
Oh, very nice of you to bring it up with me.
So did you guys have a game last night, Jason? I
No.
saw cars over there.
It was a, how's y'all's game go? Good.
Yeah, we won. It was a good game. We played West Frankfort, so we won by quite a bit.
You play again this week?
Yeah, well, we have a away game Thursday. I actually got a schedule, so I'm kinda up on it.
Jason just has to sign that, doesn't he? Am I reading that right?
I think so. That last page, really.
Sign it there, correct?
What's the girl doing with
Be right back, I'm gonna run this over so I don't forget it.
John, are you going to your office?
Yeah.
You give this to Juanita.
No.
I appreciate it.
Excuse me,
I
Jed.
think he works there.
I'm gonna have you fill in these numbers. That's the only change.
Thank you very much.
What are these, do these people, on this, do they have a green card,
Pink card.
pink one?
Pink card. Yeah. Pink medical card.
What, is there a ceiling on their income?
Oh,
Does
yeah.
that go from out there?
Yes, yeah. They
Wonder
have
what
to
that is,
definitely
do
be.
you know?
Huh?
Wonder what that is, do you know?
The ceiling,
How much?
they can't, if you're over 55, you can't make over like 2,500 a year. So, and most of the ones in need of medication, they're in need of medication because they don't have a job, so they don't have any income anyway.
Well,
But yeah, there is a ceiling on once, you know.
Okay, I'll come down.
55.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you.
About to bury me, aren't you? Reading as fast as I can.
JD, is my cousin behaving himself down the road?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No problem.
Was he got a cousin over here or what?
Down the road from where I live.
That's a possibility I do, I just haven't checked the census today.
I don't think we got anybody over there across the street. Related.
He's got a lot of family out there now. Something ain't jiving with my math here. What am I doing wrong? Read it. Add them numbers up on the bill. Either I'm doing something wrong.
You will come on up.
All you have to do is drop off and bring back.
Okay.
We don't have anything to kick around, but,
Just some bills to be paid.
there's some bills to be paid, we're up to, right at 35,000.
Okay. How many people y'all got in that facility?
Yesterday, I think we had 56. I'm not sure about this morning, I think there was some more brought in overnight.
Just what you needed.
Is Ted not in the county today?
Nah, he should be back this evening, he went to that conference in Springfield.
Okay, because Betty Varnum was wanting,
Oh, yeah?
You wanna,
so should I refer her to you?
I mean, I can talk to her, I don't know if I can make her happy or not, but I'm always around to talk to everybody wants to talk. But he'll be back in tomorrow. If she wants to wait a day and talk directly to him, that's fine. Okay?
all right, thank you.
Yep, thank you
bud. Have a
guys.
Great day.
Take care.
Larry, you wanna come on up? So what's going on?
Yeah, I get, about $400 left.
Something ain't, yeah,
I don't know if it's all on there or what. I get, 1405.
Larry, did you get a chance?
Well, it may just be Is it supposed to be 1405?
Add it up, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't have.
You got a
That's what I
calculator?
got.
Well, hold it a second.
Did
I'll do it the old fashioned
you
way.
look at that iron bridge down there? That tree's fixed to fall off in that creek.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
pretty
that's
bad.
back off the,
Did you look at it?
yeah,
What, do we need to do anything, or?
well, it's back off the right of way, so I don't know.
Oh, it is, it's in that, okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is, so we'll adjust that.
I think, I believe that big old slab moved, do you? Did you look, did it slide out?
I don't-
towards the center?
I don't know,
He just
I
went down
wondered,
wrong.
I wondered the same thing, yeah. And we looked at it and I says, well, it's kind of back off the right of way, so at this point, we just need to kind of monitor and make sure it doesn't cause us a problem, and then we'll see. Sometime we may get down in there and talk to Mr.
Holland's in
Holland.
now.
And he's, of course, we buy rock off of him all the time.
Yeah.
And sometime when we're down there, maybe we'll go down there and
Fix
do
the problem,
something,
don't we?
look at it, but. Yeah, I looked at it and it almost looks like maybe it has
I
moved.
think it is. I think that's
A
what's
little bit.
going in behind it.
It's, yeah, and it's, almost looks like it's flatter than what it used to be, but
That's what I think.
I don't have a picture, so I don't know.
I guess the old bridge was there, was it? So
I wasn't here, I don't know.
I don't know. I
I'm
guess I
assuming
was there.
since that's
You
where
remember
some of the
that?
stuff was at.
I don't remember, are you talking about the Iron Bridge?
Uh-huh.
I can remember jumping off that abutment. I don't remember the old bridge per se, but I can remember some girders down in there, but you still had a pretty nice pool to jump into off that abutment if you were brave enough.
And I haven't looked at the plans for a while, but I don't know. I don't ever remember seeing alignment on the old plans. It is, you know, the bridge structure, you know, this has been long enough ago that they don't get
I
as
just wondered
detailed as we do now.
if they had anything, you know, to get that out of there, so they just moved the bridge over maybe, or something. I don't know.
Well, if it had a crook in it, they straightened the road out,
Yeah,
which made good sense,
yeah.
but I always assumed that that's where the old bridge was, but I didn't know.
Yeah. I bet it was too. Cause the one on the other side is about the same place. Across.
Yeah, it's standing up still,
Yeah.
so it hasn't, you know, you assume it's always been there. So that's why I always assumed that's where the old bridge was.
Are you getting any applications, Larry, today? Anybody send any to you?
Two more in today.
Okay.
Two more.
Do you want to get a file folder for that?
Yeah, you don't mind. They go pretty good out there?
I think we're still,
Holding together.
well, we're still fixing pipes from the big rain we had a while back.
It was a rough one, wasn't it?
Yeah. It showed where you had bad pipes, and so we're replacing a few. Yeah, they went out replacing one that we had repaired that night, the bottom rusted out of it, so we're putting a new one in there.
Yeah.
Got nothing in the end worked off, they're working on it. We had enough rain for a year to let us know where some of those problems were, and now we found them.
Yeah. you buy full strength or?
Yeah.
Mix?
Yeah, usually we buy full strength and we buy it bulk, and we've got a tank that we,
Or you buy 300 or 400 gallons?
yeah, they bring their big bulk tank, big truck,
Mhm.
and we buy it, and they put it right in our, we've got a 300 or 500 gallon bulk tank that we mix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, well, I need to qualify that, that's the older stuff, the older style. We're getting a lot of our new stuff, you have to buy the extended.
Is that
Pink or something different.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, an extended life, and a lot of that comes pre-mixed, 50/50.
Buy that water.
Yeah, you're right, and it's pricey too, that extended life stuff. But you got to keep with it to keep any warranty and everything, so
Yeah.
if you start with it, you stay with it.
I always buy that full strength.
Yeah,
And I asked Daniel, I think, 3 times. That's full strength, yeah. Well, that case of tobacco, I've got a list, but I've got it right here on my clipboard of, after I checked everything and what it was down to. And that case of tobacco froze up. Now,
not nice.
I got to looking at that antifreeze, and that stuff was just as light, it was green, real pale green. So I think, as far as I know, everything is okay. But I checked everything now. I guess there's a possibility I didn't get mixed up good and checked better than it was. But
See.
I always run it and get it hot, you know.
To be sure, every fall when it goes to turn it cool, we go check, we take our list of our equipment and we go check everything
I did too.
with a hydrometer and make sure that it's got the right amount of coolant in it.
Yeah. Now, you're talking about the checker with the little balls in it, is that, okay,
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
yeah. We check it to make sure that somebody ain't added straight, been out in the field and added straight water and stuff like that. We make sure that they're down, so.
Well, I think I'm all right, I don't think.
I did have a rock letting last week, and as a formality, the board usually passes a resolution accepting the rock prices, so. There's, you're the only one that has to sign it, there is 3 copies of it, so you can all.
Gerald probably knows more about them being competitive than I would. I'm sure Larry gets a better deal than this
It
company.
used to be a lot cheaper up there.
On
at
some of it.
Rosicler, but they're not anymore, I don't believe.
Some of it I don't. They give me board price on CA6. Of course, I ain't gonna complain, cause that's $1.50 less than last year, so.
$6.95.
Now, on the CA6, $5.50.
CA6.
That's,
Is it $6.95? Correct it.
let me bring it back next week, fellas. I've got something wrong, I don't know what I did. No, it's $5.50, which is same as board price.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That saves me some writing.
To this week, I'll bring it back next week. It's a formality. We buy rock from January 1, and I just now got around to letting it.
How much, what, you say 6.5?
5.5.
Okay, well, that's what it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, last year, you
See-
went up to 5.5.
That's last year's bid price. And about a month after we bid it, they sent us a letter that says we're dropping the price to $5 a ton. All right, we'll take $1.95 a ton break on rock any day of the week. So we bought for $5 a ton all last year. Well, January 1, they've raised their board price. And since it is so much lower than anybody else, I can't believe I did that. I got the other one right. The chips went up 15 or 20 cents a ton.
But, you know, every time you went to the other ones, well, you can't really, I mean, if they're the same price as others, you'd still be better off to go down there, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you could, like northern in the county or something, you might.
And Lafarge kinda messed up, they didn't even submit a bid for Rosenberg. Yeah. I've sent it to their office that they had last year and they closed it. Well, it came back, and so a week ahead of time, I talked to salesman and I sent it to the office, but they didn't get a bid back in, so.
Is that bill where you?
That doesn't, yeah. We can still buy from them, I just can't use MFT, it's a formality, but. And if we're up on that side of the county, we'll buy from them.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been buying much CA6 MFT anyway, so our chips will all come down here.
Some of that old 6-foot rough down there, but I guess it's all right.
Right now, I'm guessing that the CA6 is a byproduct.
There's something wrong.
No.
Well, I mean, the reason they dropped that price like they did, they said they had an abundance of it, but.
Yeah. No, I think what their issue is they've got a contract for something else, and the CA6 is coming out as a byproduct to making the other product.
Oh, no, that might be.
They've got a big contract that
Yeah.
they're making money on, so to get rid of this, they've dropped the price.
They've even stored some of that on top of the hill over there.
They said, fellas have said they've got a huge pile of CA6 down there. So we're taking advantage of it. We bought a little bit more than we would have otherwise.
Yeah, I like them down there. They do a good job.
I think they have a contract down in Homestead
What they do.
for concrete rock.
I see,
And the CA6 pile is a byproduct
yeah, that
of
clean,
making that.
be paving or something, probably. Yeah, I bet you're right.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Larry, there, I was getting down there when I was still doing it by myself, but, they was hauling that rock plumb to that levee down there in Missouri, or Arkansas, or wherever it is, they blowed out.
Oh, is that right?
They had the trucks running,
That may be what it is
they'd be
too.
there, you had to wait on them, they'd be there at 6 o'clock.
Is that right?
5:30.
See, if they're getting big stuff, this CA6 may be the byproduct of making bigger
That was a
riprap.
lot of it. Now, I don't see them going down anymore, but they was. Be careful.
You do.
Dave, you still farming?
Trying to.
You all ready for, Mr. Childers?
I think so.
Try to get everybody through here pretty quick. Trying to stay on schedule there.
Got our bill file.
Forgot about that, yeah.
Mr. Childers, you sit right here if you want.
I don't need to be here to take
All right.
I guess I am.
First, I want to apologize to you, Mr. Childers, for not calling you back. I've been sick with the flu. And my voice has been lost pretty much all weekend. I think Gerald said he spoke to you though. Yeah. Okay. What can we do for you today?
Well, we were here as the Fire Protection District Board and the Fire Chief. I'm the Fire Chief, and I don't know if you guys know everybody. Will Lovercamp, he's our treasurer. Leland Bakehouse is the president of the board. Mike Hillebrand is the board member. This is our secretary. And
John McConnell.
John McConnell, I'm sorry, I guess I'm Mike Hillebrand, and then Kent Bowman is board member.
Just to go along with that, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
I've been out of the county fire department, started in 1983. The district was formed in '82, so I've been around it for 30-some years almost. And I took a 10-year hiatus when I got sold. I worked for a chemical plant in Calvert City, and they sold me, and so I had to get off. I was traveling a lot for my company I worked for, but then I came back on the board about 2 or 3 years later, and I think I've been on the board now about 9 years. So, been around the fire
You wanna sit
department.
down here?
I've been,
Have a seat, Jim.
I started the fire department in 1970. It was, actually, the county fire department was formed in '74, and I started in '75. Became chief when it became a district in '83, and I've been out there 38 years. Lowell's been on the board for 30 years, probably been out there 32, 33 years.
He's the original board member appointed by the county commissioners in 1982. I've been doing some research on the ordinances and things for the last 6 months, being I'm the secretary of the board, and put together a book and found out that Lowell was actually the original appointed board member back in 1982.
Kent, you've been on about 15 years, I think.
20 years,
15,
yeah.
20. I don't know, how long have you been?
Between the two departments, I've been doing about 28 years,
Yeah.
about 25 for the
Been a board
county.
member for,
34.
yeah, 3 or 4 years.
Leland,
So,
how long you been on?
Leland, how long have you been on the board?
I don't know, 6, 7, something like
Yeah.
that. I don't,
We figured somewhere around 6, 10 years, something like, I didn't know for sure, I didn't look it up. I guess the issue was that we had kind of heard that there was people interested on the board, wanting to be on the board, and we were very well pleased with the board that we've got, and everybody's still wanting to continue to serve. I know when they first started the district, we were appointing, they done the very first time we had a 3-member board, they did a 1-year, 2-year, and a 3-year term, and then they appointed every 3 years. Since then, for the last, gosh, how long has it been, Lowell? I don't know how many years. We used to get a yellow copy of something out at the station showing that they were, that, you know, the appointment was coming up, and we hadn't gotten any of that in such a long time, so I don't know where we stand. We kind of looked at some of the statutes, and one place it says that they're appointed until their successor is reappointed. You guys may know, but then in the state statute, it says something about 3-year terms. So we're not really sure exactly, but I think we were here more or less to let the commissioners know that we would, you know, like to see our board stay, because we're not really having any issues, other than we've had some personnel issues in the last few months because of a rule that has been in the district. And I think that's probably what the big issue is for all this that's happened. But we do have a rule that's in our bylaws that says that you have to live in Massac County to be a firefighter. Okay.
Jason, do we need to go in closed
So-
session if we're gonna discuss the personnel?
I don't think so.
And we had a fireman that did that, and he worked on the water district, and he was around all the time during the day. And I guess all of us chose to ignore the issue, maybe, I don't know exactly how to put that, but we didn't do anything with it. Then we had another gentleman, he's sitting right here, and he moved to Paducah. And when it started happening, the board got together and kind of decided that we needed not to allow that to happen. And I'm speaking for the board, I'm just the chief, I don't have a vote in this, okay, but I'm just trying to give you some history on what happened. And since then, since they decided to enforce that rule, we've had a lot of trouble because we had to let a couple guys go. And there's been all kinds of mudslinging and things happening, and we just kind of wanted to get it over with and get on with it, you know. So, I mean, that's kind of the history of it. If, I don't know, am I leaving out anything, John? I mean,
Well,
But we come up wanting to let you guys know what we're trying to accomplish, and in our fire department, we've started a youth program, and, where we get our firefighters from, anywhere from 16 on up. They're not allowed to be on the department until they're 18, of course. And, we try to train them to better prepare them for, when they do actually come on to get to do, they're only allowed to do certain things. You know, clean up at the station, help pick up hose, they can't actually fight fire or nothing. Gives them an opportunity to, you know, learn the stuff before, when I was put on the fire department, I didn't know nothing, so, you know, everybody needs some training before they actually have to do it. Mike's pretty well been in charge of the training on the young recruit program.
And I'd like to talk a little bit
Sure.
about that, if you, because you guys, probably the only time you hear about the fire department is when we have an issue to come up, but we've just got so much to be proud of in this community with the fire service, and these guys has made it happen. This youth program that Mike's talking about, you know, right now we're doing 16-year-old boys and getting them to come in, and they do work around the fire station. It's just a great program that's working, and now we're having to fill some of our positions from these guys that as they get old enough to come into the paid on call part of it and they get to do it. We're fixing to extend it, and I really haven't talked a whole lot about this at the board, but we're in the works of it now, going down to maybe 12-year-old boys and just have them do like work at this, like sweeping the floor and stuff like that, doing stuff at the fire station. And the biggest value of this is the kids that are in it, if they get caught drinking, if their grade point average is not a certain point, then they're out. And so these boys, we've had 2 or 3 boys that were terrible students that's actually come into this, and now they kept their grade average above a C so they could stay in the program. And this really meant these young kids, it just means everything to them to be able to stay in this program. I mean, it's wonderful. And you know, some other points about the fire department is you know, do you realize that Massac County is the largest fire protection district in the state of Illinois? We are the largest. One of the things that all these guys are very proud of is most counties don't even have a Jaws of Life tool. These guys, I wasn't on the board then, but these guys, our first set of tools, we scrounged and scraped up money and asked for donations. Now we carry 3 sets of Jaws of Life tools, which enables us to respond to more than one wreck if we have more, or we can help the city out or help Joppa or whatever. We can help whoever needs the tools. Another thing, that a program that's very much worked is our fire prevention. Several years ago, we started a fire prevention program in the schools, and I would say that now our fire load, because of reaching these kids, now we respond almost half the calls. Our fire load is cut in half just by teaching the kids. So, and another one of the biggest things that you guys probably should look at and stuff is the people in Massac County, their insurance, which we are rated, it's called ISO, correct?
So we're rated we're rated a 6.9. That just tells you that if you're within 5 miles of a station and 1,000 feet of a fire hydrant, of course we know our fire hydrants are you know, far and in between, but if you fall into that category, you're rated a 6. But if you go beyond that 5 miles and you're not within that 1,000 feet, you go to a 9, 10 being the worst. So there are some work to do there, but we may not ever get too much better only because the water system. You know.
Right now, one of the advantages that we have right now, we have one of our trucks setting in Brookport.
Yeah.
Okay, what that does, we allow them to use that fire truck to fight their fires inside the city limits. But if we have a fire right outside of Brookport, they can get there so much faster than we do, that we have a truck, they come out and assist us on fires, and it helps us.
Actually, that area goes up to, I think, Country Club Road and all the way over into Unionville and the county line. Kind of a big area there that they cover for us. Now, that means that we still go, but they take our truck and go to that fire, because they can get there, you know, depending on how far out, 5 to 10 minutes before we can. And there's a lot of stuff
And
that
that
happens.
saves us from having to put another station, satellite station out there. Now, we are in the works right now, trying to do something with, Joppa too, so then we'll have areas spread out.
We had an agreement with them, but the old truck that we sent down there just kind of fell apart. We just couldn't afford to keep it up, and so we had to do away with that and told them that, you know, if and when another truck comes and we have one, we would like to continue making that same mutual aid agreement, and they're willing to do so. So that kind of gives us another station, because that 5 miles can go on from there, helps get the rate down for the people's insurance premiums. But it's you know, the county's so big, it's hard to just catch everybody within that 10-mile area. So there's some good things that's happening with it. We've just run into some snags with a rule that was there that the board decided to enforce, and it's just caused us some hassle.
The youth program, excuse me, on the youth program, does those kids ever enter a fire, or does it, what's the rules on that?
The ones that's 16 or, well, it's 16 to however, we may get somebody that once on the department that's 30 years old. He still has to go into the program for a certain amount of time. But those guys that's 18 and under, they're only allowed, we have an incident command system. That means that when we have a fire, someone has an incident command board. That's as far as they can go.
State and federal rule us on what we can and what we can't do with these kids.
They can't go any further. Now, once they can stand there and watch, if the incident commander says, go around and get me an axe and bring it back around here, they can go get the axe, bring it around, and then they hand it to a fireman or whoever needs it, or they all send one of our veterans, you know, with the tools, but they're not allowed to go any further than I see.
Even accompanied by another firefighter?
Even well, if it's mop-up situation and the fire is under control, yes, they can, as long as they do not enter the building. They're not supposed to enter the building unless they're 18. And I could have brought the rules for the junior firefighters, but I didn't know I needed them, or didn't think I needed them. So, but it's been a good program. It really has. And basically, I mean, the main reason we were here is we keep hearing in the paper that there's people wanting on the board, and the board's done an excellent job, and I'd like to see you guys reappoint them. That was my goal for us being here, and I think that was their goal. They all seem to want to continue serving.
Are you full on volunteer staff, or do you have any opening spots?
There's openings.
Is that normal, or is that the way it usually?
Not normally, no. No, normally our turnover is not very much, you know, because that was an issue that we discussed with the board when we done the youth program, was, you know, they could be on there a year, they could be on there 5 years, they could be on there 10 years. They may not, some of them may not ever get an opportunity to actually be, when I say full-time, I'm talking paid for the fire call that they make. They can go, once they become 18 and we feel like they're ready, they can do anything that anybody else can do, but they won't be paid until we have an opening that we could put them over where the money's there. And I think they get paid $25 a call.
You had mentioned the gentleman that worked for the water department lived out of town.
He lived out of the county.
County, I mean.
Yes.
How many years did he live outside the county?
About 6 years. I'm just guessing, somewhere around there.
And then it just decided to make the change?
And then when Mike decided to move to Paducah, that's when it became the issue. And I've always said, and I'm gonna say it, if anybody's got a complaint, he does, because we allowed one to do it for so long, and then we didn't allow this one to do it.
But our question was, where do we stop at? Then we have another fireman, you know, and these guys are welcome to come back in if they come, it's not, you know, it was a gut wrenching decision to have to do this. But at what point, as a taxpayer to our department, how many people do you let slide? You know, then we have, let's say we have John McConnell that wants to move outside the district. Well, then where's your stopping point? Well, the rule was always there, but we just tried not to, we tried not to enforce it because it is a brotherhood. It's someone that you put in, and I don't expect everyone to understand this, but it's someone, I've put my life on the line next to him and I do it again. You know, there's that, but it's just that where do you have the stopping point? And you've got to do, the rule was there, and you know, when I voted my vote for this, my youngest son was fixing to come on the fire department, but he was going away to college. They was gonna let him in during the summer because he was here, but it was a vote against my own son. He couldn't get on the fire department until he finished his college now because of the way that I voted. So we all took the vote very serious, but it's what I feel, it wasn't the best thing for the department, but it was the best thing for the community.
And I want to throw something out there too. I think one of the reasons that David, I'll call, we all know who it is, he worked in the county all day long, so we felt like that, you know, it's kind of one of them things where he's here most all the time, but he was living plumb on the other side of Karnak, which causes a response time at night to be long. But, you know, that was kind of one of the things they looked at. I don't know, but I do know that Lynn Whittaking, he works down there where you do, right? And he came in, turned in his stuff because he couldn't make the fires. We do have a policy that you gotta make 30% of the calls or you can't stay. And I think he was one of them, and I had a couple more that didn't make it this year. They understood the rule, you know, they're not mad, it's just one of them things that happen.
Is it like, Andy Ross? And
Andy Rhodes, yes.
Rose and David Cook?
Yes, yes.
You know, was that Lynn Levercamp?
Lynn made his percentage, he just decided he had all of it he wanted. And all I know is he retired from the department and didn't want to do it no more. Now, he never gave me a reason why, but that's the only reason that I had got. But Lynn had told me that when he quit, that he says, and I don't know, I'm just doing what he told me, that he said, I can't make the calls to get my 30% because anymore they don't allow the other guys to leave, and I don't feel like I can leave when I tell them that they can't leave. So he decided to turn his stuff in, okay? Never had a problem with Mike's attendance, and I've said it and said it and said it. I've never had an issue with him on the fire scene, never. He come in, excellent, good air pack man, great firefighter. I don't have no problems with him, okay? It's not a headhunt thing, and I know that's what it seems like, or what some people are trying to make believe. It's not. The talent that you get when you get a good firefighter and a good air pack man, it takes years of just experience, on the job training to get that, and it hurts the department to lose that. It does.
Who sets the policies for the youth program, and who sets the policies as well for the fire protection district, as far as
other than state statute, what rules we have, the fire district board makes that decision on anything that pertains to penalties. In other words, like that, well, okay, the rule that you have to live in Massac County, was been in there ever since the fire department was formed in 1983. It was in that, it's not something new. Now, the 30% rule, how long have we had that, 2 years?
I think so.
About 2 years, and that was a vote of the board to do that, because we were having, I think the statement was made, if a person can't make 30% of the calls, that's 30 fires out of 100, he's not really doing us any good when we put him in a $900 radio and several $1,000s worth of turnout gear. It's just too expensive for someone that can only make 15 or 20 fires a year. And that was the district that makes those rules with, with a discussion with me.
And then the youth program, it has its own committee that we make recommendations to the chief, and then the chief brings it to the board, and then the board has the final say-so over a policy with the young recruits.
We appoint the young kids and everything, but they approve the we kind of come up with some policies, took it before the board, and they approved it.
Is that a page or 10 pages or 50 pages or policy book? What?
Oh, it's just, it's on the
5-page.
application, basically. We do-
5-page.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many openings have you got today?
Well, I have to look, see, but I think we put 2 guys on, we're getting ready to put another one. I'm thinking we probably got 5, maybe 6 openings. See, I'm trying to think, but we lost Lynn, Mike, Mizell.
James Adley.
Yeah, James quit. I have to go down through the list and see, but we had, we had 6 or 7.
It seemed like about 5, and then we've hired back 2, we got the third one, so actually we only got about 2 spots.
And then, of course, we've got the spots on the youth program.
Yeah, I think you was.
We've got several spots open. Can't tell you exactly, I could get the information for you, but
How many openings was there before these guys were let go for moving out of the county?
let's see, Lynn had Lynn already quit? Lynn had already quit.
Well, there was
One? Was it none or one?
It was-
Be 2 at least, Wadey King was on.
Yeah, that's right, we hadn't replaced Woody King and then Lover King,
so 2.
so we probably had 2 openings.
The rule only affected 2 people. In my observation, it only affected Mike Bakehouse and David Mizell.
Yeah.
That's, the other openings are their choice, volunteer.
What kind
Well,
of,
2 of them actually they didn't make enough
Yeah.
fires.
They didn't
Well,
make enough.
2.
Or it was
Fires.
for the
30%
rule,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, the 30% rule got 2 or 3 of them. So,
what kind of percentages was Mike Bakehouse and David App when
man, I
this
couldn't tell
all
you,
went
but
down?
they were up there. They were up there pretty good. I mean, I can't remember, do you know, Mike, what your percentage was?
50 or above.
Yeah, I was thinking somewhere
thinking
50,
somewhere
His
around
attendance always has been good.
50, 60%, and, David's was probably more than that.
Cause I know they made the comment to David after the 6 months, he still was over 30% after he had been
Yeah.
let go at the end of the year.
He was up there pretty good. I can't tell
I think
you.
David was right, number 3 on the list? Right under you and.
Yeah, there was,
It was just,
yeah,
he was making.
well,
like
yeah, he
90%
may have
of
been,
it.
he may have been 4th on the list of most, because I think Gary Carroll was under me and then maybe him or somewhere, but he was 3rd or 4th in making the most fires at that point in the year. I'm trying to remember, when did all that take place, about October, November, when we enforced that rule?
No, July.
July, was
Yeah,
it that
June,
far
July.
back? Okay,
1st of July.
so. But personally, I have nothing against either one of them guys. I have had some issues since then, because of some of the things that's been happening, but I can understand them being, aggravated. I can understand them being hurt, and having their feelings hurt about it, and, you know, but I don't know, unless, the board's willing to do away with the rules, and that was the issue that we discussed in the board meeting. If we do away with one rule, do we do away with all of them? The 30% rule, because if we save those guys, we've gotta save the guys that don't make the 30%.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line? That's the key, where do you draw the line?
Let me ask you on something else. What rules do you all have for promotions?
There is none. It's just whoever, whatever the board and I decide to
If there was an opportunity for someone to be a captain or a chief or something, do you post that up on the board to let people inquire about that?
No, never have.
Because that was another one of the concerns a lot of people call, was your son got promoted. And other people a lot of people that had worked there for many years wanted the opportunity for that type of position. I don't know if it matters much or not.
In the fire
But that was
service.
the question that we kind of wondered as a board.
Right.
Why wouldn't
Because
it be
it's my
posted?
son, is that?
In the
Well, I
fire
don't know if it
service.
was that, or
Yeah.
if it was because everyone didn't have an opportunity to say, hey, guys, can I be considered for that position also?
Okay, when we done assistant chief, okay, I've been there so long, the board appointed me back in '83. The board appoints the fire chief, period. Okay, they appoint the assistant chief, okay? Back when the assistant chief issue has never been addressed as, we're gonna post it and see who's interested. It's never been done that way, okay? The board has always either took my recommendation or this time they didn't because, but they did appoint my son captain and they appointed Rob back as the assistant chief, okay?
But how do you know who has interest in the job if no one knows the job's?
Okay,
It's a
it's a volunteer type thing, and it's one of those things, if you have to ask for the position, you don't deserve it, it's a given. It's not, you're appointed it among your peers. Your peers, you gotta remember, it's not like a regular business, so it's a volunteer. And I can't think of any, for instance, when someone has that, John McConnell, when he accepted at one point in time, he was our assistant chief.
Him and Lynn Lover.
He didn't, he was asked. That's the thing. You don't, it's not a guideline for us to go. That's just the fire service.
So if he is asked, then there has to be an asker.
Yeah,
Who
that's
is
correct.
that asker?
I usually look at the guy and everything and see what experience and what he's done in the past and how dedicated he's been to the fire department, and I usually ask.
Example,
And then I ask the board to do the appointment, and if they choose not to.
I've been there 25 years and I've never been asked.
And I think he'd make a
And I
good one. Of course, he's a
wouldn't-
board member, so
But
we're not gonna.
I wouldn't dream of taking it among my peers unless they asked me.
What are the different ranks?
Well, now we have a chief, assistant chief, and a captain.
Okay.
Now, before that, we had a chief, at one time, we had 2 assistant chiefs, and when John left, we never appointed another one. And, Mr. Mizell was our training officer.
I was a training officer one time.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
David wanted to do it, he come and asked me, and I gave him the opportunity to do it. So he was actually doing the training.
When the department is called on a call, do the firefighters get paid a set dollar amount for their presence?
Yes.
Okay.
If there's a call, and of course the rule says you have to be engaged in the call, but if there's a call and the fire, whether it's kind of a set rule, if the trucks get out of the station, the pay is you know, if the call would happen to be canceled, the ones that come to the station are the ones that's en route to the fire, that they call in, and we take care of them for us to pay. Now, if there's a fire, of course, everybody's gonna be there and accounted for, so we pay everybody that responds to the fire except our youth program.
Kind of the set rule, or is a set rule?
The set rule.
Okay, so
The
that's
truck has to be out of the
that's in
state,
policy.
the truck has to be out of the station
Yeah,
to pay the guys,
if the call's canceled before the first truck leaves the station,
then we're
then
not.
nobody gets paid.
Does anybody who any position that is out on the fire call, is there different pay scales as far as their qualifications and ranks?
Fire chief gets $35, the assistant chief gets, you're gonna have to help me out here, cause I don't do the payroll,
30 of them.
30, and then, the firemen get 25.
Do you think it's fair to say that there is unhappiness within the fire district, the personnel?
As a whole, I mean, you're talking about anybody? We know there is. You guys know it. I mean, it's the ones that's been had to let go is the ones, that's what, there was never an issue with anything going on in that district, in that fire department until we enforced the rule. That's when everybody got unhappy and they started headhunting me and headhunting people on the board.
I'd say you got 2 people out of, with the youth program, close to 40 people. Maybe one other that was a friend, but that's just because he was a friend of one of the guys that got let go.
Well, I'm gonna make a statement. I will tell you that there is discord among the men who are currently firefighters. It's not,
Oh, I
it's
know,
not
yeah,
2
yeah, no,
that
no,
got let go.
It's not just them. I can tell you a couple more that don't like it because of what happened to their buddies out there. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Well, if David and Mike were making a good percentage of the calls, which you've already told me they
Sure.
was, and the fire board sets policy, I would say it's fair to say that the community suffered when they lost firefighters that were qualified in quality. Is that fair to say?
Well, I guess so, but I could go a step further. If you were going out here somewhere and had a wreck, and it took those 2 firemen 20 minutes to get to the station, get a truck and get out, is that fair to you or anybody else? I mean, the key is the response time it takes them to get there when they're not living in the county. I think that was the issue with the whole situation. Me,
So-
I'll do whatever the board wants me to do, okay? I'm just the chief. I don't make the rules. I can suggest, and that rule was discussed numerous times before anything ever happened to it.
And that rule was put into effect when the district was first formed. This ain't something that was added later. And a guy from the state of Illinois came down and helped us set up our bylaws. And he's the one that suggested that be in there.
And I don't know any volunteer fire departments that allow people outside of that fire district to come in to fight fires, because it takes the response. Our key to everything that we do is the response time to get there. That's our #1 most important thing. That your kid trapped in a car, that they've only got so much time, and that was the whole issue, is the amount of time it takes for them to get there.
I do know, by being chief of the city for many years, and I don't know, I've been gone for 6 years from there, so I'm not sure if they've changed the policy or not, but I do know that at one time, the city of Metropolis required their firefighters to live in Massac County, or in the city of Metropolis. They couldn't go outside the city. Now, I don't know of anybody that lives outside the county is concerned, but I don't know if they've changed that policy, but that policy is and was for all my career in fact with the city metropolis.
I guess, Mr. Childers, what the board, like, you know, we've had a lot of people call us.
Yep.
And what it seems to us, and I'm just gonna lay it out there, is this rule has always kind of been not enforced because the people are always making their calls. But it seems like about the same time that this promotion was given to your son, and there was a disgruntled problems with that, this seems like it was the same time that this rule was enforced. Is that correct or no? Not
Well,
even the
I
same
mean, I
time?
don't.
Is that within the same months?
I don't
We
know.
messed up, and I'll be first to admit it, by not enforcing the rules on myself.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty as anybody else, because I knew it too, maybe not as long as some of you guys did. But I believe the date on the rules I saw was 1990. I don't know for sure, but it's been a while. It was black and white, we didn't enforce it, so we messed up. Now, you can beat it around the bush all you want to, but it's our fault.
I understand
Now, the
that,
other-
but I'm saying,
You know,
These
let's-
guys,
looks like what's
okay,
called-
these
what's
guys
people's
were
calling
not,
us
these
and
guys
saying-
were not let go because of that.
okay,
I
because
can-
we
I
get
can
calls,
set that up.
people
Because of
saying,
what?
Because my son wanted a position, or I wanted my son to have a position on the board. That had nothing to do with this rule.
No.
Ask the board.
I mean,
It
I
has
understand
nothing.
the enforcement of the rule,
Huh?
the enforcement of the rule, okay.
It had nothing to do with it.
Now, I will agree with you on
Actually, Lynn left, and that was actually before,
that was before.
that was before.
But I will agree with
but-
whoever's doing some fussing, that nobody had a chance at those other two jobs. Now, it's a cut and dried deal. The motion was made and second, and they were appointed. Now, nobody else knew about it.
The other two jobs being,
Well, they knew that the
Assistant chief and captain.
Yeah.
okay.
And there actually was not a captain's position
Yeah,
at that time.
it's,
Okay.
I don't know if any other firemen knew about it, but
So the pay scale
as
at
far
the
as I
time,
knew, they didn't have a chance at it.
at the time this happened for a fire call, the pay scale was the 25, 30, and 35.
Well-
Fireman 25, assistant chief 30,
Well,
chief
as
35.
far as the fire calls, okay. And I need to clarify that because being the fire chief, he gets $150 a month. And then the assistant chief gets $100 a month, and then the captain gets $75 a month.
But there was no captain at this time.
That's right.
No,
This time.
no.
Okay.
We never did
Assistant chief.
we had two assistant chiefs and we never
And it
reappointed.
never appointed the second.
And the reason why we decided to go ahead and do it, chain of command at that point, is that was actually the time when Chief was out with your knee replacement, and he was gone for several months. And what had happened with that is there has to be fire reports sent into the, state, and we needed someone that knew how to fill them fire reports out, and that was one of the reasons why Clay was appointed, was so that we could get them fire reports.
So Clay, during that situation, Clay was doing the reporting?
Yeah, he done all the state fire reports and a lot of my paperwork stuff, set up things, because, I mean, I could kind of communicate with him a little bit, and he knew how to do the reports from working at the city. And the only thing I had to show him is how to get them transferred from the computer to the state, which he didn't know how to do that, but I had to show him how to do that. That was one of the reasons no one else out there knew anything about it but myself, and he did, and that's why I asked him to do it, and that's why they done a temporary appointment with him.
How long was he temporarily
Oh,
appointed?
it wasn't a couple months, was it? 2
Yeah.
or 3 months? But the whole thing boils down, and I'll just lay it out there, and I hate to say it, but David got mad because he wasn't offered a position. He was training officer.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people out there that will, well, I won't even go there. I'm just not gonna go there. Just, that was one of the reasons why all of that come up, because he was unhappy. He told one of the firemen that he was next in line for that position, he should have had it. Now, he never had a problem with this board as long as he was there, but when these things happened, he started having a problem with everything. We had the youth program going on out there, and my grandson would come out there with Blade to, when they were teaching the class, because he's one of the instructors, and they were even complaining that we were allowing him to be in the program when he was only 12 years old, or 13. And it was just a matter of standing there watching, you know. So it's like they started picking at everything that went on. It all started with the enforcement of the rule that you had to live in Massac County.
Well, there's nothing to keep them from reapplying for their position if they move back to the county.
Yeah.
David has moved back to the county and he's not asked to come back on.
That's correct.
He says he don't wanna come back according to what he's told me.
And Mike would be the same.
Mike,
If Mike moves
we'd
back
love
to
to
the
see him
county,
back
he can
in.
reapply.
If he moves back in the county, I know he has hard feelings towards it, I understand.
So how long you had a knee surgery?
Yeah.
How long were you out with this?
Well, not being able to do anything, I don't know, a couple months, 2-3 months.
So,
I actually couldn't do much even when I come back out there, but I could do, you know, I could get the paperwork done, do some stuff around the station, but actual firefighting I didn't do for probably, I don't know, maybe 6 months, and that's just a guess at it.
so you were out for 3 months and you was off heavy duty for an additional 3 months?
Yeah, something like that.
Just so the taxpayers know where their money's going, where did the $150 a month go to? Did that go to you or your son, or how did that
No,
work
it still come to me.
during the whole 6 month period?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was still able to make decisions and stuff like that. I just couldn't, you know, I couldn't do burning house things and grass fires. I just, you know, I had to have time to heal.
Was there, when you first had your knee surgery, was there, maybe you already said, was there an assistant chief position then?
Yeah.
And who was that before?
Lynn,
Lovercamp?
yeah.
Okay.
But Lynn's does a lot of the hands-on stuff for me, you know, fires and stuff, but he wasn't savvy to the fire reporting and all that stuff, and didn't actually have the time, being a farmer, he didn't have the time to learn it or do it, and that's why they let Clay do it.
Any more questions?
No, I'm good.
Well, I'd just like to say, I've been on this board for a while, and I kinda sit on the outside looking in. I'm not a fireman, I know the firemen, I don't go to fires, I could care less how they put your house out. You know, if they show up and they get the house put out, and they're doing it in a fashion that's professional and all that, I'm good with it. The part that concerns me is now all of a sudden, we made a decision. Granted, we were late in making it, like Leland said. And I'm like Leland, I didn't know about David living out of the county for a while. I thought he still lived in the county. But we got people showing up, calling you all on the phone and complaining about something. They've never walked in the door at the fire department to a meeting. I mean, if you got a problem with a teacher at school, don't you think you ought to go to the teacher and find out what the problem is before you go to the principal, the school board, the superintendent of schools and all that?
Most of these people's calling us for firefighters.
Our meetings are open to the public. It's on our agenda for them to show up, reports from them. They're not there.
Well,
If I've done something wrong or you don't like the way I've done something, tell me. I agree. I'd like to add to that statement. These guys could have come and talked to us. I mean, we're open. We would have liked to talk with them and worked it out, but they never came.
The
They
night,
come-
the night of the fire
I would
meeting,
like to see them come talk to us.
the night of our fire meeting, that David made his big spill, he was in my office. He says, the sad thing is, I'm gonna be moving back to the county. And I said, well, if you're gonna move back, you know, how long is it gonna be, or if you know, if there's something we can work out, maybe we can work something out with the board. He says, there you go, wanting to change the rules. And I said, okay, go out there and make out of yourself, okay? If that's what you wanna do. You know, I would've done the same. But here's my question. These firefighters that's calling you, on the average, we have 32 firefighters. Is there 30 of them calling you, or is there 2 or 3? Because if I'm doing that bad a job that there's that many, man, I'll step aside. I've got 38 years of it, and I'll let them go on with someone else. Because I kind of base my performance on, if I've got 2 or 3 people unhappy, then I'm doing all right out of 32. But if I've got 30 of them unhappy, then there's a problem with me. And that's kind of the way I base it, and it won't be no hard feelings with me.
And as a
Or
board-
as me.
As
I
a
can't
board
speak
member,
for the board.
there's, any one of these guys would step down from their position
If it's gonna
if
hurt the
you're
fire
appointing it for the right reason, but don't hurt us. We've worked so many hours, and so you just can't imagine how many hours, man hours, how much time, how many suppers that each one of these guys and firemen, and Mike was in that group, that give up for their families. You do it from the heart, you don't do it from the pocket. And you know, on this part here, if you wanna appoint me, that's fine. I don't, you know, if we can find somebody, but as a rule, we have a hard time finding somebody, because guess what? The board, it's in the statutes that we can pay ourselves, but nobody has ever once tried to make that a vote to pay themselves to be on the board, not a one time. And you do it from the heart, and really, even having to come up here, it hurts. It really hurts for somebody that I gave 28 years of my life for, and 2 people start complaining about it, and then get a few buddies, I'll give you that, but I gave 28 of my years, and I've give up a lot of doing stuff with my sons to be with this fire department, do the right thing. But guess what? Now, my oldest son wanted to be a fireman, and he's on the fire department, and my youngest son was told that he couldn't be on the fire department because he didn't actually live in the county. And you know what he told the chief? He told him, he said, I don't care about the pay. I'll still come and help you out at the fires, because he can do that because he is in the youth program. And it hurts. It really hurts, and it hurts to have to, because all this would be in the paper, and it would be mudslinging, and there was no reason for none of this, nothing. We had to make a decision, the best decision we could make for this community, and we made the decision. And if I had to vote again tomorrow, I'd vote the same way again, because nothing was done wrong.
So I can comment on that too. So where's that kind of attitude coming from the guys that are calling you to come and work with us? I mean, they could come. They could still come. They stopped. They gave it up, threw it away, and they walked out too.
Well, I've got
So
a
it's-
fireman out there
they
right
could
now.
come and work with us.
I'm gonna not mention his name, just so that I'm not trying to create problems for him. Still in the department that made the statement. I hope David does come back so he can stir, because that's what I'm gonna do. And I know who it is. And then I know that they have talked to some of you guys.
And so my kinfolks.
So I'm just saying that we made a rule, and if it's become that bad of an issue that the commissioners are that unhappy with what I'm doing as fire chief or this board, all they gotta do is tell me. Like I said, I've had 38 years of it, and I've been chief out there since '83, and if I'm doing that bad a job, I need to get out of there. It's not like I'm making a living by it, by no means.
And if it's
I'm
one or-
retired, I'm doing it just to help the community, and because I've seen the fire department go from a '56 model fire truck that sat over at the county garage, and that's where the first fire station was at, and in the wintertime, they'd pull it out so they'd have room to work, and it'd sit out there and freeze up, and then we'd replace lines on it for hours on end. working constantly for no pay, trying to keep a fire truck going, to it being behind the county highway department, to Dale Calgill coming out there one day when he was county commissioners and said, hey, right over there is where your new station's gonna be. And from that point, we became a district in '83, and you can see what we've accomplished by just looking. If you come out there and see some of the equipment we've got some excellent equipment because the board has struggled, and we've had to go in debt a little bit when it comes time to buy a truck, but we've kept our trucks up and done a very good job with that. I can't see where anybody could have a complaint about the fire protection that they're getting. Have you had any complaints about fire protection?
I never have.
Yeah, it's just some internal problems that the board needs to take care of. And it, you know, if the board, you know.
And if you feel like you've got to have a head on the platter, take mine. But I beg you not to give the board position to one of these people that's got an agenda to hurt the fire department. Let the other board members decide and find a board member to replace me. I don't have a problem with it, none whatsoever, if you think I've done something wrong. But please don't let them hurt our fire department, something that I've personally worked for 25 years or better. I don't want to see it destroyed in this.
Can I make a public comment too?
Sure.
I'm a wife of a volunteer firefighter, and I'd like to bold that volunteer. That's what you have, is a group of volunteers. And just like these gentlemen are saying, is that you don't do it for the $25. You don't do it for the $35 a call. You do it to help your fellow citizens in the entire Massac County. And I have been at dinner tables where the choice was made that, okay, Daddy's going to a fire call. I fully support my husband. His name is Rob Beck, and he was the one that was appointed. It never came up. It wasn't something that he aspired to do. It's something that he dedicated himself to. And let me just say that these firefighters, they save lives, and they save lives of our community. But I have to also say that they save each other's lives. They save the youth that they have been working with in the youth training program. My husband is gone every Tuesday night working with that training program. He doesn't get the $25. He doesn't get $35 for that. And that's every single Tuesday night
I
for a very long time.
I would say Rob has missed less Tuesday nights than any of us. He's there almost constantly.
And he's a very knowledgeable person. When this program started, he researched the state statutes, hours among hours that he doesn't get paid for, and that all these gentlemen don't get paid for, and the other 32 firefighters, they don't get paid for. You go to a call and you get $25. Sometimes you're there 2 hours, sometimes you're there 10 hours. You know, so if you want to average that out, what are we really bickering about? A difference in $10? But I just want to say I support the Massac County Fire Protection District. I support the firefighters. It's a family. I support my husband, whether he is a firefighter or assistant fire chief. The status is simply an organizational structure move. It's not anything to do with egos or prestige. You know, how many times do you see the firefighters, individuals, being linked as heroes, you know, in our community? They're not. They're undercover. They're there to do the job. You only recognize the firefighters in our county when you have your house is on fire. Then you want to pay attention to it. Or if your son or daughter has an accident, then you want to pay attention to it. The other 364 days of the year, they're still doing the work. They're still leaving their families. You know, they all have families. They make sacrifices. and you have the families who support the firefighters. It's all volunteer. And they're very talented, dedicated, and, you know, if you feel the need that you have to replace a board member, I will throw my name in the hat, because I think you have to do it for the right reasons. Either you're volunteering to serve your community, or you're doing it to prove a point that you should have been picked over someone else.
And now that $25 they make, I live close enough that 99% of the time I get a truck, okay? But them guys that has to drive their vehicle, John comes from Plymouth by Jefferson School. Those guys that get that $25, you know the price of fuel, they're burning that up going and coming to the fire.
I would think it should be higher. It should be a bigger number that they should get, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, it's not because they're making money, it's because they wanna do it.
And they've spent many weekends training. There's been a lot of training going on. There's one coming up in February where, you know, my husband says, okay, you know, this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm not gonna be around. He works all week. And you have to think about these folks, they have jobs. And then they do this as well. You know, so instead of having a weekend with my husband, he's gonna spend it with the fire department training.
Actually, 2 weekends in February.
2 weekends in February. And that's okay.
He told you about the second one.
Okay.
He's trying to stay out of trouble.
But see, that's okay, because that's, you know, that's what they do. That's who they are. They're not getting paid for it, but the community's getting paid for it, because they're getting that experience.
And I'm gonna sum it up saying that, all right, we have an excellent board. Now, are we perfect? No, we're not. But I have sat on that board, or I have been a fire chief out there when there was a terrible time with board members at each other. We don't have that. I don't see it. Most everybody gets along. They don't always agree, but they can disagree without getting mad. I'm telling you, I've always said, when the door closes out there and you walk out the door, everybody's still friends no matter what. And you just don't see that a lot in a board. It's really come a long ways. I'm proud of the board. I like working with them, and that was the main reason to come over here, because I knew there was interest. I knew what was going on. I would like to see every one of my board members reappointed, because I think they do an excellent job. If they weren't, I'd tell you so right here in front of them. I don't have a problem saying what's on my mind, but there's nothing, everything's running smooth up until the time that we enforce the rule. Now, whether we did it the right way or the wrong way, I don't know. Should we have allowed someone to stay on there? No, we shouldn't have. We made a mistake, okay?
And
It wasn't fair to this gentleman right here. And I've said that, I've told his dad the same thing. His dad sits on the board. I know it was hard for him to swallow, but I've talked with Leland, and I told him, I said, I hope there's no hard feelings. He says, there's no hard feelings with me. I just wished we would enforce the rule to begin with. And I can appreciate that.
John, and one of the things with concerns is John has got us set up with a lawyer, or a guy that does the state,
He's in the Illinois Fire Protection District Council out of Alton, Illinois, and I attended a training with board trustees at Lake Beach Fire Department back in October last year. And he actually gave the class, and it's a training class for Fire Protection District board trustees. And I brought his name to the board and asked if they would be interested in having him represent us as our legal counsel, because he just knows the Fire Protection District bylaws or state statutes, and he can answer questions. If you ask him a question, he'll give you an answer. And but he said, okay, I'll come and visit your board, and I'll ask questions to them, and they can ask questions of me, and we can decide if it's a fit for each other before I'll say that I'll represent you, and before you'll say that you want me to represent you. And we're gonna meet with him on February 16th. He's coming here free visit, he said, it's a free visit, I come meet with you, interview, it's kind of an interview type thing. You get to know me, I get to know you, and then we'll decide whether or not he's gonna represent us.
And it's just so that we can make sure we're doing the right thing, because
Right. 'Cause
back
there are
when
some
we had a,
changes.
yeah, there's been a lot of
There's some changes
changes.
in the
When we
Illinois
had a
statutes.
19-man fire department, a lot of these rules didn't apply to us. Now that we've got 30-some-odd people and this youth program, hey, there's different rules that we have to go, and we're trying to update that, so we ain't sitting here before you guys saying, hey, this is it. We can say, guys, here's the rule on it, this is why we done it, and this is it, you know.
Thank you all for coming
Well,
in.
I've got
Oh,
a
sorry.
couple of comments.
Um,
As I understand it, all those term, whatever it happened to be, is up. And when it comes time to reappoint or appoint new ones, I hope you'll keep this man on.
You bet.
Because he's the treasurer, he knows the money end of it, and if he goes out, we're gonna have to hire an accountant or somebody that, you know, knows what's going on.
He's right. Lowell
Other than
saved-
that, the other four of us, it's up to you guys.
Lowell saves us a lot of, that district, a ton of money with what he
Yeah.
does. He does.
He's our wise old owl.
I'm telling you, if he ever leaves, that district's gonna miss him. I'm telling you, because he saves us a ton of money.
If this is a full representation of the Massac County Fire Protection District, and their presence here is just letting you know they're not wanting to resign. And unless, you know, they give up their spot, depending on how the wording is, you don't have to appoint someone.
Do
Just
you
depends
guys-
on the wording of the bylaws.
Do you guys know for sure? I know what happened when the district was first formed. They had 3 members, and they've done a 1-year, 2-year, and a 3-year, and they staggered. Well, then, into it, and I don't know how many years it was, well, I don't know if you remember, they decided, as a board, they voted to do a 5-man board, which they were. They used to, every year, or every time there was an appointment came, there was a copy, like
And I can
something
address that.
that came to.
Back when I had 4 employees,
Yeah.
but most boards notify me
Well,
that
see,
they have appointments coming up.
Well, that's kind of what was
And
kind of
it's-
the process,
and
and then
you
we
have-
quit getting the thing, so we never knew when somebody was coming
Yeah,
up,
but
so anyways.
most boards keep me informed of the
But then,
vacancies that are coming up or
Yeah.
the expiring
and see,
appointments.
that was my question, because when I look in here in this ordinance, that the revised was 91, all it says is the corporate authority of the said fire protection district is vested in the board of trustees consisting of 5 members appointed by the chairman of the Massac County Board with the advice and consent of the board for the initial terms specified in the minutes of the regular meeting of the commissioners until their successors are appointed and qualified. Now, I don't know how you interpret that. When you go to the state statute, the very first time it talks about, such trustees shall hold their office thenceforward and for 1, 2, and 3 years from the first Monday of May, next after they're appointed and until their successor has been selected and qualified, and thereafter, whatever. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what that means, but that's why we kind of wanted some guidance on some things, you know. This kind of seems like they're there until their successor's appointed, but then this, and I know they used to do 3-year terms, but it kind of went away. You know, I don't think we'd have a problem keeping track of that for you, but we don't know we wouldn't know where to start when you guys do decide. You know, everybody don't need to come do it one time, just in case you do decide that you're gonna change the man, you don't wanna change
It would
it.
need to be staggered.
Well, yeah, you don't wanna change everybody all at one time, and hopefully you don't wanna change nobody. I would love to see you guys reappoint, but, I didn't know if any of you guys knew actually or had talked to
That'd be
them.
something, but, you know, we'd have to ask Patrick on.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions. Appreciate you all coming in.
Thank you, thank you for your time. Thank you.
tour room.
I think Nancy Holt is out there. From Southern Seven.
I went to leave, 11.
Michelle, you're gonna have to move back to your position.
Work.
I took 6 hours vacation this morning, so I could print.
I think we all got one now, don't we, or
Yes,
is
I
that the
do.
same thing? Oh, Gerald passed it.
Yeah, Gerald, yeah. you get one. Okay. I'm bringing the annual report to you like I do every year. The smaller copy is the agency annual report. Now, we're required to compile this every year to send to the Illinois Department of Public Health, and then I share this with all the county boards. And then I have one just for Massac County. So just briefly, we'll look at the one for the 7 counties in total. And I won't go over all the numbers because I know the numbers for the 7 counties in total are also repeated on the one for Massac County, so you can compare what Massac County looks like compared to the 7 counties. But just a couple things I wanted to point out on this one for the 7 counties. On the very, you'll open it up to the first sheet here. There's a message to me, from me to the residents of the 7 counties. But the very back page has our statement of revenue and expenditures, and that's not on this one. So this is our financial information. Now, this is for the year ended June 30th, 2012. Our year runs on a fiscal year. So this is July 1st, 2011 through June 30th, 2012. And it has our revenue and expenditures for that year. And then it has the graphs. It shows it in pie chart form so you can see it there. So I just wanted to point that out to you. And then the other thing I just wanted to point out is every 5 years the health department conducts an assessment, or it's called a Project of Local Assessment of Needs, or I-Plan, which is a health needs assessment for the 7 counties. And the 3 top health priorities for the 7 counties have been identified as heart disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. So as we talk about the programs that we operate, looking at this annual report, we try to target our programs to address our top health priorities in the county. There's certain things that we do as a health department that we're mandated by law to do, but the grants that we apply for, we try to focus on our health priorities, which is heart disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and cancer. Okay, now if you'll look at the one for Massac County. And by the way, Cheryl is our director of nursing at the health department, and so she came with me today because a lot of times commissioners will have questions regarding communicable diseases, that sort of thing, and Cheryl is the resident expert on that sort of thing. So feel free, if you have any questions, to ask me and Cheryl, and we'll be happy to answer any questions as we go through this. Okay, the first page here is our immunizations and screenings. The first column is the county totals for Massac County, and the second column is agency totals, so you can see how Massac County compares to the agency in total. We have the flu shots that we gave for the year, pneumonia shots, TB skin tests, our child and adult immunizations, our child and adult Hep B immunizations, blood lead rescreens, and then genetic screenings.
What is a genetic screening?
You want to explain that one, Cheryl?
Genetic screening.
We have to do, it's a questionnaire where we ask people, the state gives us the questionnaire, and it asks people about their chronic illnesses that run in their families, like high blood pressure, diabetes, and those kinds of things. And we go through this screening tool with them to determine if they are at risk for these chronic illnesses. And we can refer them to Jackson County Health Department, who has a geneticist that comes from St. Louis once a week, and people can make an appointment. It's free of charge, and they can go talk to a geneticist about the possibility of whatever that may be running in their family.
Southern 7 has a family planning program for males and females, and we have served 284 unduplicated clients in Massac County out of 1,006 total for the agency, and that was 836 total client visits for the year. our family case management program. I won't read all the statistics, you can take a look there at that, but we show you all the statistics for our prenatals and infants and children that were case managed during the year. That's a pretty big program that we operate for family case management throughout the 7 counties. Then going up to the top there, our STD, HIV, and AIDS statistics, we did not have any positive HIV in Massac County for the year, which is good. We had 4 in the 7 counties, but none in Massac County. We have a very high chlamydia rate in the 7 counties. We had 41 positives in Massac County, and actually you're going to see that number jump, I think, when we report the annual report for FY13. We're actually have an outbreak since this report was compiled, that those numbers will show up in FY13, which is not good.
No, I was just thinking, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, that's not good.
Not good for some people.
Yeah, it started, actually, we began to see the numbers rise in November, and in December it also increased. And when you hit a certain percentage, then the state puts you in outbreak status, and we've been in outbreak status now since November. We're working on that, and one of the things that we've been able to do is the amount of time that it takes for us to contact the people that test positive and be able to contact all of their contacts. We can do that in about 14 days and get them in treatment. So we are at 100% of everybody that has been tested and comes back positive. We have them in treatment within 14 days, and all of the contacts that people they've been with, which is, the nurses are really getting it to get that accomplished, because sometimes this involves a lot of people.
Is it not Massac, is it another county's got the outbreak worse?
Right now, Massac has the highest account of chlamydia in the county, because we're making an impact on it, but it's if we could just get people to, once we test.
What does people need to do to, protect them,
To protect themselves?
Yeah.
Well, reducing the number of partners would be a great place to start, and using barrier methods would be really good. We offer free condoms to people.
But you just go into like a public restroom or something, you can't catch
No,
that or nothing?
no, it's sexually transmitted, so
Okay,
you
so-
actually have to sexually
Right.
engage with someone in order to get chlamydia. But there are things you can do to prevent it, and the other interesting thing with all this is these are not reinfected people. These are new people that constantly are getting the infection, and then we get them treated. So we're trying to get that word out. It's really hard to put an ad in the paper, to talk about things like this, to how you prevent this. And we do a lot of education. We're in the schools, and we talk about these things with the kids, but actually the population of people we're talking about are people above age 20. So,
Was gonna be my question, where at?
yeah, most of ours are above age 20.
Would they fall between a college age, 20
20
and
and
25?
34. Yeah. It's amazing at the number of people who are 30 years of age and up. It's not the highest percentage, but it's significant. There's a lot of people in that age range, 30 to 34, that are positive. And through the health department, through family planning, we address this, of course, but we also have our STD program that we operate in conjunction with family planning, and that's how we identify a lot. But we have a lot of people that just walk into the health department and say, I've got this, and this going on, could you check me out? And then we run the test, and it's positive. And so then we ask them, well, we need to know who you've been with so that we can make sure that they get treated, and then who have they been with so we can get them treated. And a lot of times it really gets to be a lot of people involved. So that's why the numbers get inflated. If we can ever get this word out to people of how this spreads, I think maybe we can kind of slow this down a little bit. But it's difficult.
Do you see a relation with that age group, or are they using other methods of birth control? Is
Yes.
a birth control pill or some
Yes. They
of
are
females that
on. I
are
think
tubes
they,
tied and so
they
I'm not
forget
gonna use
about
protection
that.
anymore, or,
Yeah, they
or I just don't
forget.
care, I'm old enough I can take care of it.
They forget that STDs are out there. They're concerned about birth control, so they come in, a lot of times they go to their doctor, they come to the health department, they get their contraceptives, so they're covered against an unwanted pregnancy. What they forget about though are the STDs and HIV. They really need to be thinking about those two things whenever, you're with somebody that you don't know what their, sexual history is.
Let's clarify, did you say 30 to 34 or 20 to 34 is the age?
Usually 20 to 34 is the big range.
Big range, okay.
The kids are in there too, but you'd be amazed at how high those numbers are for young adults.
Cheryl mentioned that we were in the schools, and that's the next section, the adolescent health program, that's what she was referring to. The FLE, which stands for Family Life Education Schools. We currently are in Joppa High School and Massac High School for the year, where we do the family life education, which is that's it. And other things too, but that's included in it. Then family life education participants, we had 198 kids that were in our classes in Massac County during the year just ended. Coordinated school health, which is another type of program that we have at the health department. We had 875 kids and community members that participated in that program. Catch schools, we have currently Metropolis Elementary and Brookport Elementary, which that's called Catch On to Health, which is focused on nutrition, physical education, different type of programming. We had 2 existing schools, and then we picked up Unity this past school year. So that's our school programming. The WIC program, which is another one of our big programs that we operate, there's the statistics there. We have a lot of kids, that's a big program in Massac County for us. And then we have a Heart Smart program, which is targeted toward women. We did not have that program in Massac County last year, but we are targeting some churches in Massac County this year, so you'll see some numbers on that this next year. The breast and cervical cancer program for uninsured women, we served 24 women in Massac County through that program this past fiscal year. The HealthWorks program, that is DCFS wards that we case manage. That's not broken down by county, but you can see the total numbers of children that we case managed in that program this past year. And then going up to the top, and then we'll come down and look at Head Start. Going up to the top, Illinois Tobacco-Free Communities, that's the Smoke-Free Illinois program. We had 5 complaints. Those were basically for bars in Massac County where they called or wrote. They don't call. They don't call us directly. They call the hotline to the state and make a complaint that someone's smoking in a bar. There was 5 complaints during the year versus 86 for the 7 counties. So Massac County complaint rate is pretty low. And then we had 9 residents in Massac County that participated in the Break the Habit program. And then the communicable disease statistics there, you can take a look at that. Hepatitis C is usually our largest numbers for communicable disease.
What's that, pertussis?
Pertussis, yes, pertussis, that's whooping cough, yeah.
Okay. Were they the only ones that had it?
Confirmed cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, confirmed cases.
It's just had a real small outbreak, and it was confined to 4 people.
And then our early childhood program, that's our Head Start program, and we have a center here at the Early Learning Center at the primary school where we serve children. That's one of our largest sites. And then we have one classroom at Brookport where we serve 20 kids. So we served 168 total for the year. And then the vision and hearing screening is, we screen our Head Start children basically. And you can see how many we screen here for vision and hearing. And then the very last page is our environmental health program. And shows the food establishments we inspect, the temporary food permits we issue, and our mosquito pools that we test through the vector program, and our water well permits we issued, and our septic permits. And we do have a tattoo parlor here, so we had 2 body art inspections that we did.
Under the family planning,
Uh-huh.
see, we got county totals versus agency totals. Looks like Massac County's got a little better than 25% out of the 7.
It says, yeah, Massac and Union County are 2 largest counties in terms of,
Is that because we have population, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not just that much worse than everybody?
No, the family planning program's design is to provide women's health services. And last year, 2 years ago, they added the male component, so we can actually provide physicals and exams to men and women and provide their healthcare needs, because we have a nurse practitioner that does those. So it's a health and wellness program primarily.
yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any questions for us?
No, thank you.
And if you would like more information on some of these programs that we do, our health educator has a little bit more, it's about a 15-minute presentation on statistics on like cancer, heart disease, obesity, specific to Massac County. She has it by county, that she'd be glad to present to you. If you'd be interested, just contact us and let us know.
Well, I had a question. Do all the schools, do they serve breakfast now?
I think pretty much all of them do.
They do?
I
What
think
would that
they do.
consist of?
You know,
Just
I
like
don't
a
know,
roll
I
or
don't.
something with
I think it
some
kind
milk?
of rotates, I know Unity, my young children go to school there. I think one day might be biscuits and gravy, one day might be, you know, cereal or.
But do they do that first thing before they go to class?
I think so. I think they all meet in the gym. And I think you have opportunity then to eat breakfast, which is good because there's a lot of children might not be able to get that at home.
Yeah,
Good program.
Yeah, it is.
yeah, I'd say it is.
You wouldn't happen to have a flu shot over there, would you?
Not on me, but I have them at the office.
Oh, good. I think I'm almost over it.
Oh.
Travis felt horrible this weekend.
We have given a lot of flu shots this year.
Lord.
It is not, the flu is not fun.
I didn't have the flu. I tested negative, but I had all this congestion.
Upper
Oh
respiratory.
my gosh.
A little more detail.
We got some antibiotics for that.
I'm taking an antibiotic, a steroid,
Steroid.
and a inhaler.
Yeah. It'll take all of that to get rid of it too.
It's unbelievable.
They're done that.
Man, I know. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you
very
all.
much.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Okay.
I don't know who did that.
It's wrong on the,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because, I don't know, whoever wrote that down, put 360 plus 760, should
It should be
706. You know what I mean? Yeah,
706.
see,
Okay,
706.
706 plus
So, yeah, someone put 760.
360. Am I
Should
right
be,
then?
should be 360 plus 706, not 760.
That's 1066 total, okay.
Yeah, I look over here.
What's it for? I mean,
Corner,
oh,
Yeah.
running,
Huh?
are you running?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I gotta go to work. I was hoping-
I hear you.
I was hoping to take a full vacation day, but I couldn't get off the other 6 hours.
346.
Any decision coming this week on Cedar Lane, or is that still?
Up in Orange.
I talked to Frank Walsh this weekend. It was funny. I told him, I said, I'm sorry, I've been sick. I can't talk. And he said, well, I'm in the hospital too. So I don't know what's, it wasn't funny. I shouldn't have said that. But put me on
It's going around.
TV there. But no, he was sick too. So, but I talked to Patrick. He's reviewed it, or no, he's looked at it, but he hadn't a chance to review it. So he said he would get with us.
You read that, I think it's $706 total. Rock on if you do, brother, I just wanted your opinion on that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry, I didn't even look at that. I thought you meant 760 or 706.
you just have to get marked up. Mark's new at this.
Oh, that's all right.
Well, there was one thing, he didn't even turn the sheet in with it, he said something about, he went to a class somewhere.
Yeah,
Needs to turn in,
like a claim,
yeah.
I think Juanita will tell him, well, he's,
Look through the
for
bills.
some,
Yeah.
he didn't want it in the first.
And add up these totals down through those bills.
Okay. Well, I think one of those, I'm one of them.
No, you're on a different one. This
Oh,
is
really?
another one, Marcus.
Oh. All right.
You got enough
I'll make a
paper
note
right there?
to have her add that up.
Where you want me to do
Jason
this?
had to leave and,
Where you want me to put this?
just put it in the folder and I'll make a note of it and tell
Okay.
her to re-add that.
All right, I'm just gonna.
I'll only take 10 minutes of your time, but I would like you to listen to my problem.
All right.
Jason had to go to work
Yeah,
and
I
the
saw.
sheriff is at a meeting.
Oh, okay. I don't know whether you're aware of this, but Obama signed that NDAA January, giving the government the right to arrest me and you, detain us indefinitely, strip of us of our citizenship without a trial. That is totally against our Constitution. Now here in the sheriff's, the highest power in the community, I brought this book up here before and showed you. They went to the sheriffs and I sent them all a letter that they were supposed to take the guns away from us and that they needed to mind them. And there's a man who can stop the government and other criminal abuse and tyranny and to restore the Constitution to the supreme law of the land, and he's the county sheriff. And you guys are the same way as the county sheriff. You have the power, the authority, and the responsibility. The sheriff is the supreme peacekeeper, the people's protector, and protector of the supreme constitutional law. The Brady Bill was passed by Congress and signed into law by President Clinton. The law literally forced each sheriff to become a pawn for the federal government. Now, Richard Mack was the first sheriff in the nation to file a lawsuit to stop the Brady Bill to end its abuse, and 6 other sheriffs did too. U.S. Supreme Court, December 4th, 1996, on June 27th, the Supreme Court ruled that the Brady Bill was in fact unconstitutional and that the federal government cannot commandeer state or county officers for federal building. The ruling stated at least 3 times the states were not subject to federal direction. More importantly, the case proved that the local officials, that's you, have the right and the power and the duty to stand against far-reaching incursions by our federal government. In the ruling, Judge Scalia wrote, the federal government may not compel states, county, or local officials to comply with their regulations. So, I guess you know we're in the middle of a gun war. Everything is coming down. Well, everything they're doing is illegal, as this states 96, which in our Constitution, we are not supposed to have our rights infringed. And it's quite explicit. I got you some things here. But anyway, it says, I wrote this down for us so I could remember to tell you. We the people in our nation states do not have to obey the unconstitutional mandates from Washington, D.C. Employees. Nullification is the answer. When a state nullifies unconstitutional federal law, it is proclaiming the law is void and not effective within the bounds of the law. We the people are not subject to unconstitutional mandates from the state employer. Now this is how it goes. We the people have the power. You sit in this room and you tell people what to do. When they're employed by you, like your firemen, they have their little things, their little niches. Here in the fire departments in their little niches. So, this is how it goes. We the people decide what to do, made up our Constitution. We are over the Constitution, which means those laws don't bind us. It binds everybody below us, which is the government. You're not listening to me, John, or you're really smart.
Well, no, I'm writing, Betty. I'm taking minutes.
Oh, are you?
That's part of a job.
Oh, I didn't know you were doing that. Sorry. Excuse me, my humble
All right.
apology. I was trying to figure out if you were smarter than me or
No, I'm
just weren't
taking
interested.
minutes.
Okay. So here's the deal. There's 10 square, wait a minute, we'll have to go to the state. We get the power. You in this county don't have to listen to anybody. Then the states have certain laws. And then the federal government has several laws. Now the federal government is in Washington, D.C. on a 10 square mile slab of ground, which is their territory. I mean, that is their territory, period. They claim the post office and all this other stuff, but it's not their territory. So when our president has an executive order, those executive orders were meant for that 10 square mile area. It's not to come here and tell you not to do things or me not to do things. It's like when you hire somebody to work in your yard. You don't want them to come in your house and tell you and give you my money and I want this and I want that. That's not the way it goes. The federal government is low man on the totem pole. Today, they all think they are. We have an empire. We're ruling the world. Do you want all these wars? Does anybody want all these wars? This is horrible. We're killing all our young men, killing everybody else's young men, and it's horrible, and they're wanting to go to war some more. So somebody has to do something. So everybody tells me it has to be a grassroots thing. We have to start right here in our counties and say, no, we're not going to put up with this anymore. And they will come for our guns. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I'm scared. I want you to know I'm scared, and I think you need to be scared too. Because you're men and you got to fight the battles. I can just bellyache about it. The federal government gun riding, as in Fast and Furious, you know about that? They were giving the guns to the Mexican cartel so they could come back and shoot the guards that were guarding our border. Then you have this Benghazi massacre, which is the same thing. They gave Al-Qaeda and all those Libyans over there our guns, $25 million, set that guy up in that, what was that place he was in? I'm excited. But anyway, our man there in the, he was the one was allocating all these drugs and running this here. Somebody fell out. So that is why they had this war. But the most heinous thing about that was they put a drone over that building and they were in the White House. Leon Panetta, who was in charge of the armies, stated this because he was upset. They took videos of them dragging them out of that house and beating them up, and they would not send anybody in to help them, and they had 10, 12 hours to do it since they knew. So that was a lie. So somebody's got to get rid of this guy. He's a tyrant. He's illegal. He has no credentials to be in the White House. Surely somebody can stand up and say, and so I'm asking you, you can do it. You've got a county sheriff, the highest law here. This is making us nervous wrecks with him and he's betrayed us continually. Well, anyway, I'm through now because I'm too upset to talk anymore. Here, I got a constitution for y'all. I know I gave you one. I haven't given you one. This, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to ask you. It's here, right here on the bottom of this page, is the oath you swore. I was wondering if you would swear it for me when you took office. I think this part of it's the back last. Is that what you swore when you took office here?
I'll have to read and make sure it's word for word.
Yeah, you can get the first part here, cause just for me, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. I take this obligation freely. Are you gonna stand up for that or what?
I think I already did.
Yeah, but I'm just asking you to reaffirm that you'll stand by your oath.
Is that not the same oath that our military members take?
Yes.
When they're inducted?
Yes. Are you gonna stand by your oath?
Well, I'll do it. I'm not in the military,
Well,
and
you're not.
and I don't feel,
Didn't you do this here?
yes, I did, and
Oh, okay.
I would sign this.
I think the last line is not the same. You don't have to sign that for me, I'm just asking you.
Well, I would sign that. I'm not the same caliber person as our military.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Would you wanna sign yours?
I will, yeah.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I respect those fellas tremendously.
Thank you. Mr. Childers?
Yeah, I'll have to read this better.
Okay.
I've got something I've got to do for just in a minute.
Here it is down here.
Isn't that the same oath they use when they naturalize citizens?
I don't know. All I know it was the Oath Keepers thing, and I decided that was a good organization to be a part of, so I've been handing out their papers for years, and they're growing very rapidly. But they're coming for our guns. Don't think they're not. You'll be getting letters from them. And you have.
I don't own any guns.
I don't either, but you're the law here in the community, the county.
I'm not gonna tell you I own guns. I have a firearm owner's ID.
I don't care if you own a gun or not. All I'm saying, and I didn't say you, our guns.
Yeah.
Everybody's guns, all these people, we have a right to bear arms. You know, the Second Amendment, you are the militia. He is too, this
Betty, I don't
girl
think
over
you're
here.
hearing me. I've been a hunter for all my life. But I'm not gonna tell anybody how many guns I
You
own.
didn't tell me you were a hunter, well, good. I'd hate to shoot anybody because I don't have a gun and I don't know anything about them, but that's why I'm amended that everybody has one here in Massac County.
So, we're to come to protect you, huh?
Absolutely, well, you know how it is, if you run a water department, I pay my bill, then I get water. So, yeah, I expect to protect you.
Okay.
I won't.
We got you, Betty.
I'm not gonna call your home, well, I might, never mind. Good idea. I appreciate you letting me rant. This has me so upset, and for years, but now I see it coming. They're talking about putting 800 people in 400 towns by the 1st of March. Now, that's an invasion, is it not?
800 people, what are they, I mean, I'm not familiar with that.
Military. Military,
For what purpose?
to get the guns. You stay not, we'll see. God.
Well, they're
Gonna be lots of bloodshed.
Right now, Congress is looking at impeachment of Obama, so if they impeach him, or I think he needs to go to jail. But, here in Massac County, you guys get to work.
We ain't got room for him, we're all packed full over there.
Did you lose it?
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
John, am I
You
supposed to
don't
make
have
a
to
motion
do
to
anything.
adjourn, or? Yeah, I did
It
so
just
move
says
in
that you
Jason's
do
absence.
solemnly swear
Or,
and affirm firm to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Bear true faith and allegiance to the same. You don't have to sign it, just so I know you sign it, so I can tell people. I'd hate to say it if you didn't.
Yeah. Pressure's not on you, Gerald.
Tell them I signed it, Betty.
Huh?
Tell them I signed it.
You already signed it?
Yeah.
And you're ready to, but are you gonna do this?
Yeah.
That's what's important, is that you stand up for the people.
Yeah.
Do your vote. Am I your first encounter? I mean, are you,
You know, you're not my first encounter, I got a wife at home.
No. I mean, here in your job. I used to.
Betty, this is Jeff Weber.
Hi,
And this is
Jeff
Betty
Weber.
Betty
Hi.
Hart.
It's good to meet you.
It is nice to meet you. See, I've been here before, so they're kinda.
I haven't seen you in here, no.
No, see, I've been in for a while. Well, this is big. This is very big. If you don't pay attention to what's going on, it's gonna be stupefying. Bye.
Take care.